Any stitches or anything or no?
No, he did go to the doctor and the doctor said it was good. It was
Okay.
at bed all night.
Did antibiotics and stuff like that or else? Did they have to do antibiotics?
The doctor. said it was at bed all night.
Okay.
Like I said, you know, he said. Okay,
Well, that's scary.
Did he tell me?
Oh, look at that way.
I just wanted
Check it here.
police and animal control. What wouldn't it ever? No. I said, you have to get.
Kevin,
Okay,
Ross can't make it, so you are in charge.
Congratulations.
I was just saying,
You have been named king.
kind of looks like going back in time, so I guess that's I think it will feel more that way. Feel like it's heading back to the old days.
hands.
So everybody, we're now live streaming on YouTube, just to let you know.
All right, let's bring
You
the,
are officially unmuted.
all right, let's bring the meeting to order. The first item of business are the minutes from the May 18th commission meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review them? Any comments, corrections?
I'll make a motion for approval.
All right, it's been moved.
A second.
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. First item of business is Stonegate. Does staff want to start the
Yes.
process?
So this is not the first time we've had Stonegate, I just lost my name, before I support upward movement of building permits. Pursuant to section 164-199F of the city zoning ordinance, no final plat or residential development shall be approved by the commission without a written notification or not more than 40 building permits a year. However, the ordinance also allows for the commission to adjust that number of 40 permits upward or downward of 20% for good cause. In this case, the applicant, Stonegate, is asking for the upward adjustments of 20% or 8 additional permits for calendar year 2022. I provided an update as to where they are as of today for number of building permits per year, and you'll see that in 2019, 2020, and 2021, Planning Commission did approve an upward adjustment. That's all I have. If you have any questions. And I do not think, yes.
Clark Schaefer, here on behalf of Stonegate, appreciate your consideration of the request. This development is somewhat unique, and it's really one of the larger developments that's in recent memory that's been approved in Westminster, and furthermore, brought its own water to the table. So the increase makes a lot of sense. It allows the development to go forward, allows it to sell houses, allows it to contribute to the economic development of the city. It allows people to get nice houses and move into the city. And you have the authority to do it. And we appreciate your consideration of the request.
Questions? By any of the
Well,
members?
Mr. Depot, you're fine with the request. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
We're recommending that the City of Westminster Planning and Zoning Commission approve an upward adjustment of 20% of the allowable 40 single-family detached dwelling units for Stonegate for the calendar year of 2022.
I have, does anyone else have any comments? I have no. No. So I guess I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve a upward adjustment of 20% for calendar year 2022. And that means 48 dwelling units, correct?
Yes.
In total, inclusive of the 20% adjustment.
A second.
All right, it's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Next item. I guess we'll do them one at a time. Will be annexation number 73 Malcolm Drive.
Andrew Gerhard will be presenting
Right.
two annexations.
Okay.
So this is a planning commission public hearing for annexation 73. This hearing has been duly advertised, so that if anybody is here for this topic. So here's the annexation plat. I apologize if you can't see it that well, but everybody did receive a copy in their packet. This property is sandwiched between 140 Village and Malcolm Drive, which is Maryland 97. It is 3.8091 acres, and here's an aerial of it. It is contiguous to the city boundaries, so that's why we're bringing it before you tonight for your recommendation to the Mayor and Common Council. As part of the county zoning for this property right now is C2 commercial medium. It's being proposed to come into the city as business. So because of that, there's no zoning waiver that's required since the two zoning districts are not significantly different. Both of these properties, the property is within both our water and sewer service areas for W1 and S1, which means it is anticipated that they would be served by our system. And we just wanted to keep it very simple, just to go through. This morning, the Board of County Commissioners did have a meeting where they approved the annexations, and they will be sending their comment letter to the board, to the Mayor and Common Council at their June 27th meeting. So we are here to answer any of your questions regarding this. The applicant is here as well if you should have any questions about it. And also if there's anyone from the public who wants to speak about this as well.
All right, I guess first the clerk, are you rep?
Yes, yes.
We'll let you go first.
Good evening, Clark Schaefer here on behalf of the applicant. I have Brian Everly and Tom Obrecht here with me, who are the principals in the entity that owns the property. They also own, or Obrecht Properties owns the existing medical center that's next door. This is the old National Guard, or one of the old National Guard properties that was declared surplus by the United States. And then the county was looking at it for a veterans facility, didn't work out. And then it went up for sale. They bought it. They desired to locate a medical office building on it. They're in the review process with plans because they're anxious to get a shovel in the ground and build it. City's been cooperative. We went to the city early on and we said, we want to do this project. City said, okay, but if you want water, you better come into the city. We said, okay. And we've initiated this annexation process for that purpose. Our plans are going through with the hope that they can get through quickly so that we can build and occupy and collect money and pay taxes and get it going. We think, as Andrea indicated, it's fairly simple because it makes a lot of sense. It checks all the boxes. There's no issue here. And I think the city views it as positive when you can bring this sort of property into the corporate boundaries, which everybody knows generates more tax dollars than eats up services. So we ask for your favorable recommendation so that we can go to the mayor and council and participate in the public hearing process that will go on there, and then hopefully receive a successful annexation.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone from the signed up to speak for the public hearing?
We've received no comments from the public as of today regarding this annexation petition.
All right, thank you. We close the public hearing first, or just wanted to close it?
First, and then you can have discussion.
All right. All right, do we need to make a motion to close public hearing? Or just close it?
Just closed.
All right, we'll just close the public hearing, and then any other questions by any member for anyone who spoke? If not, we can entertain a motion then on the annexation.
Okay, I make a motion that we give a favorable recommendation to annex number 73 into the city.
Or for Malcolm Drive is the address.
I'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Love it.
Yep.
The next annexation that we're here to talk about is annexation 74, which is the state's attorney's office, the proposed location for that. This is 207 and 209 Greenwood Avenue. The majority of these properties are already within the corporate limits, but there is this portion right here in the back that is not, and that is about 2.219 of an acre here. So that's what we're here to talk about. And you can see that this here is the city limits. This is which is currently being used kind of as their parking area, but this is what is being proposed to come into the city. The same as that it was for the previous one. It's currently a commercial medium. We're asking that it come into the city as B business. It's not enough of a significant change, so it is not in need of any type of zoning waiver. And this here is once again is in our W1 and S1 service areas. So it was anticipated that this property would be served by public facilities. We spent a lot of time going back and forth between the county and the city, working together as a team to figure out water information for this property. So I could talk all day about water for this property, but I won't. So, but if there is any questions that you may have about any of this, or this project is currently in the review process as well. And it is currently going through the county process and the city review process.
But it's a parking lot now.
I actually believe that on one of the buildings, on one of the properties, it's a shed. And then like that back area, yes, it's a parking lot, but they're going to be taking, everything there is going to be leveled, and then they're going to be building it from the ground up, so.
Okay. All right.
And also, we have a representative here also from the county, if you
I was
should
going to ask if
have any questions.
if anyone representing this would like to speak. Go
I just want to, thank you for the opportunity to come before you this evening. And this project's a very important and significant project, both for the city as well as for the county. And just would ask for your support of this annexation petition to allow us to continue to move forward with this project.
This is, in addition, is a public hearing.
This is a
So
public
is
hearing,
there
it was
anyone
also
Signed
fully
up who would like
advertised.
to speak to this annexation. All right. Any other?
Well, the only comment I will make in reference to, both these annexations, they're both situations where, it's a redevelopment project, and in order for the applicant to move forward and get water and have access to water and sewer, they, need to come into the city. But I think in both cases, what will eventually be built on both these properties are obviously better than what's there now. So it's very, straightforward.
And it will continue to keep occurring as we go down the road
I don't know if
for
anybody,
similar reasons.
does anyone else have any other questions or comments? It's very straightforward.
All right, well, let's close the public hearing then. Staff is in favor, and we'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I guess I'll go ahead and I'll make a motion that the Planning and Zoning Commission forwards a favorable recommendation for annexation number 74, which is 207-209 Greenwood Avenue to the City of Westminster Mayor and Common Council.
I
It's
second.
been moved and it's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, the next item is. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Next item is ordinance 942.
Staff. Currently, microbreweries and pub breweries is not a listed use in the PI Planned Industrial Zoning District. It is allowed as a special exception use in the mixed use infill, the central commerce, neighborhood commercial, central business, and downtown business zone. At the January 20th, 2021 Economic and Community Development Committee meeting, the staff presented the draft text for the microbrewery and pub breweries. The Economic Development Committee was favorable to the recommended draft text with some modifications related to adding food trucks or allowance of food trucks. And then furthermore, some regulations to those food trucks, which were incorporated into the draft text we have before you tonight. On April 11th, 2022, ordinance 942 was introduced to the Mayor and Common Council. The Mayor and Common Council supported the ordinance as recommended by the Economic Community Development Committee, including the food truck limitation and regulations. And they referred the ordinance to the Planning and Zoning Commission for its recommendation to the Mayor, to the Mayor and Common Council. There have been no revisions to the draft text since the Mayor and Common Council meeting. The draft text proposes to add new microbreweries and pub breweries licensed under Article 2B of the Annotated Code of Maryland, used to as an allowed use in the PI Planned Industrial Zone subject to special provisions. And also to add new microbreweries and pub breweries special provisions in the ordinance. This public hearing was duly advertised on May 21 and May 29th, 2022 in the Carroll County Times, as outlined in the zoning ordinance and the Maryland Open Meetings Act. Staff is recommending that the City of Westminster Planning and Zoning Commission forward a recommendation to approve ordinance 942 as provided in attachment 1 of this report dated June 9th, 2022 to the Mayor and Common Council. That completes my report. I'm available for any questions.
Okay.
And I apologize, I'm sorry. We just, as with the annexations, we've gotten no public feedback or comments or concerns with this ordinance
All right.
as of today.
Is anyone out in the public here here to comment on this item? Okay. Commission questions?
The only comment I will make, just to give a little bit more background for you all, is I think the desire here was to do something to kind of, we're trying to be as business friendly as we can be. And I think there was a potential business that was looking to potentially come in. Now they're not. But in order for them to come in, we would need something like this to happen. But even though they're not coming in at this point, we still think it's a good idea. You're seeing more of these like brew pubs kind of pop up, like the one down in Eldersburg. I got it. The name escapes me at the moment. But that we would be able to allow something like that in the PI zone, which we currently are not. This text amendment would allow us to be able to allow a user like that, and additionally provide some the ability for them to have a food truck. You see that Old Westminster Winery a lot of times has a food truck out at there. So I think that's where the motivation was coming from. Mr. Depot, if you have anything to add to that, but.
Well, I do want to make a point, and it was brought up at the Mayor and Common Council meeting. A microbrewery is the same as a micro winery or a micro distillery. So this would go across any type of micro beverage, craft beverage type of use, or pub craft beverage type of use, these regulations and the allowance of the food truck.
All right. Well, if there are no comments, we can close the public hearing and discuss or have a motion. My only comment was always sort of moot now that I hated to see some of the industrial land, that's out there for maybe bigger purposes get used when they're really not creating much more of that industrial land. But I've always voted in favor of the things because I felt like there's a need for these places to go somewhere, even if
Sure.
that's the best we have right now. And hopefully at some point when Air Business Center is, can be expanded and you can create some more.
But the thing you have to remember about these breweries or distilleries, it's kind of almost of a hybrid use a lot of times because they're actually manufacturing as well.
That is true.
But just for instance, Pub Dog, I've been there several different times, but they're manufacturing there.
That is,
They just have the tap room as almost like an accessory use to the main manufacturing. So I think that's the concept here.
that is probably better than some of the other ones that have been in there have been more like the
Sure.
bounce me places or
So in this case, I think it kind of makes a little bit of theoretical
agree.
sense because you have an underlying manufacturing
Yeah.
going on.
You just have to have enough space for the public to
Yeah.
park and use it, that's all,
Sure.
which would come under something else, planning, more in the site.
When they do the site plan.
Yes,
If I could, another important element is the timing of these type of uses. So typically an industrial park closes at 5 PM and you're not getting much use out of that site. These type of uses extend the hours of the park and extend the life of the park. And you have this offshoot of parking. So when all those businesses leave at 4 or 5 o'clock, you have that abundance of parking. So typically it's that shared or off-time parking. So that's typically not an issue. But again, it's extending the life and time of an industrial area, industrial park.
That's a good point, Mr. Debo. Yeah.
right.
Plus some people after work will go on down there,
Yeah, you can just walk
right?
in. So-
Any other comments or questions for that? If not, we can entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that the commission forwards a recommendation to approve ordinance number 942 to the mayor and common council.
All right,
Second.
motion, and it's been seconded, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. All right, the Carroll County Liaison Report.
Good evening. As Hannah stated last month, I'm Bryce Wagner. I am the new liaison to the city from the county. This is actually a better fit for me. I live pretty much not quite in the city, but just right outside. I'm on water and sewer, so pretty much benefits. But so our update is almost the same as it was last month. When it comes to our comprehensive rezoning for the ag conservation text, we have finalized everything and we are sending our draft to our planning commission on the 21st. We will begin our work sessions with the planning commission, probably over two or three meetings, and then we will move forward and start working with our board of county commissioners to get that finalized. Our goal is.
Right, so I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you. I'm sorry if you.
Yeah, our goal for the actual ag conservation zoning text is by the end of this year. This we'll have that hopefully approved and our new ordinance is written and updated to since, as you know, Dan, some of our stuff hasn't been changed much since the ordinance in the zoning back in the 60s. So that aspect is moving forward. The work group did a great job our internal concept team have taken their recommendations. We worked with those and, made sure the definitions and everything all adhere to what is currently what we're seeing on the ground. And, if there's new things coming about, we're also taking into account of that aspect of looking into that to make sure our ag and conservation zones are being utilized to their best of their abilities.
So, Price, I just have a question or two. So did you say that you're getting the draft to the planning commission? That part, the planning commission's review really has not taken place yet.
Exactly. And then actually, I believe starting next week, we actually set the packets out. So either tomorrow or the middle of next week, that draft will be on our website. So that'll be for anybody to review, to look over what the changes look like. So we're gonna have two versions. We'll have a clean version, and then also we'll have the strikeout version of what was taken out, what was added, that type of thing. So everybody has an idea of the direction we are going. The one thing we definitely looked into, especially when it comes to the conservation zone, is the actual purpose of the zone. Because our purpose is, reads to be true conservation.
It's always been odd because for ag, you're 1 to 20 in theory.
Right.
Now we won't get into the whole multi-deed or all
Yeah,
conveyance,
all that, yes.
but then conservation is 1 to 3, and it really doesn't make a lot of theoretical sense.
And there's also a lot of other uses that are allowed in conservation, even though we look at the purpose of it. It is almost true conservation. And when I first moved up here from North Carolina, I asked my boss at the time, Clay Black, somebody came in and wanted to build something. I was like, can they build on conservation zone land? He was like, yeah. I was like, that didn't make sense to me, but okay. I'll make sure, but that's sort of, your first thing is conservation. It's actually the uses that you can see, you're like, whoa, okay. But so we're trying to make sure that the purposes also reflect the uses on the ground. And we did the same thing to agriculture.
So is there a movement afoot to potentially change the density within the conservation zone?
I believe that is staying the same.
That is staying the same.
Yes, it is staying the same. So,
Okay.
You have 3 acres of land, you're able to.
Okay.
So yeah, the density aspect for either conservation or ag did not change when it comes to residential.
Okay.
And the one thing I believe we did forward is potential of mandatory clustering in the conservation zone as a potential.
Instead of having to go through the process of doing the comparison between what I can get on.
Yeah, that was actually.
Mandatory clustering makes far more sense in conservation anyway. I agree.
During the residential text, we actually got rid of the having to do the and temporary subdivision. So to see, you can just have to show the cluster subdivision. You don't have to do both of them to see, here's what we're doing. Here's how we're going.
It's always been kind of goofy, a goofy exercise anyway.
So that's what's going on with the comp rezoning. When it comes to the water and sewer amendments, I'm finalized the ones we had for this go around the springtime, and there's only for Union Bridge and for Hampstead. So I'll be sending those out. I'll be brief about the planning commission getting their recommendation and their certifications on the 21st. Then I'll brief our county commission on the 23rd, and then ask for a public hearing, and hopefully the public hearing will be held on the 14th of July. Then 10 days later, give or take, by the end of July, we'll do the discuss the decision, and then I'll have it sent off to the state for their final approval. And with that being said, we've also begun, and I know you're really missing this, the triennial update, Andrew. So that is, as you may know, every 3 years, we have to update the plan wholeheartedly. So the amendments are during the meantime, twice a year, but every 3 years, we look at the plan as a whole and update everything that may need to be updated over the course of the plan, not just the town information, but the information pertaining to densities, the watersheds, all that aspect. So that process, we're moving hard and heavy into that aspect. I don't believe there's much change from what Andrew and I talked about for the city of Westminster. But But then, of course, part of that process is I'll bring that forward to the planning commission for y'all to certify this, that it is consistent with the comp plan. That as it is, of course, back in 2020, you totally revamped everything when Andrea came on board. So it's your section of the water and sewer master plan is pretty up to date.
And just one also thing, we have so many things that are in flux right now that we wouldn't want to update our master plan chapters now for them to be out of date once we get approvals or things move forward. So just when the last triennial update happened, our chapter went forward and MDE said, you guys can update it as an amendment. And so that's why when I started, just like Price said, Jeff Glass and I worked together to do a total rewrite of the entire chapter. So it is as accurate as we could be at knowing what we know, now. When things get approved and things start moving forward and things like that, we'll be able to update it. We'll do it as an amendment like we did the last time.
And that actually may end up being a better thing instead of, because Tawny Town did the same thing. So it all coming all at once. Each town sort of works and does it as an amendment. And then by the time a triennial comes around, it is already up to date. And it's just reusing the information that was done. So that process, probably by the end of this year, beginning of 2023, we'll hopefully have that to MDE for them to do their due diligence and everything. I guess we'll call it the 22 triennial update. So that's the other big thing. And then our transportation master plan, it is still occurring. That is we got other things that have come about that we're working on. So it's not on the back burner, but I believe actually, I'm not sure who actually may have been Drew said we should put it on the side burner.
I remember talking about that when I was there. So yeah.
Exactly. So we're still working on it. Mary and Claire are both working on that. But that is one of the mini balls we have in the air. Of course, the annual report, we will be sending that to MDP on July 1st. An aspect of that, pretty much, it's still, I have Tiffany here who has done not a lot, she's done, I think, all the legwork. And if there's any questions about that, we'll be sending that off to MDP for their approval, correct?
No, we just send it, it's a required element, and we just turn it in, it's due on the 1st of July.
So it's not like the water sewer master plan where they had to give the final approval. Okay. So we have that aspect, so that we're sending that July 1st. All the town's informations are in the report as appendices, and we have that aspect. So like I said, we're going to be sending it going out July 1st. And the last big thing is the hazard mitigation, which was started, I think, in 2018, before the pandemic. And then, of course, the pandemic hit, and our emergency services who does our hazard mitigation plan, so they had other things to worry about. So that sort of was put on hiatus for a while, but we're in the process of finalizing the hazard mitigation plan, which I believe, unfortunately, I'm not sure which liaison I may have been at the time. We came with Valerie to talk with all those towns and the cities to see if there's anything that they would want to include in the hazard mitigation plan for monies that could potentially happen. That's what the plan's about, is if you have it in the hazard mitigation plan, then you have the ability to potentially get funding for mitigation type things. And some of the areas that people have used it for, say, are generators for fire EMS. That, or if you're revamping things that are definitely, when it comes to big hazards, okay, that can be looked at, and you have the ability to potentially request, grants or anything like that helps in your hazard mitigation possibilities. Obviously, when Mount Airy had a big tornado that happened before I moved here, you had the tornado last year that came through
February right before the pandemic, so it's 2020. Yeah.
So, and I'm here, I was talking about small school, and we had to rush into, we were in one of the gyms. So yeah, that aspect. So the hazard mitigation plan Not really sure where it is. I know it's on in the far end of it's closer to being finished than not. We're just, what I think, once it gets to the point where it's done, I'm sure Valerie, who would would probably want to bring it back, make everybody look at it, and make sure everything has been taken into account. That was brought up 4 years ago when we first started.
Bryce, one other just quick question out of curiosity. So on the ag district that you all are working on, is there some movement afoot to kind of, because of course the ag industry has changed, you're getting a lot of this hybrid kind of commercial aspect. Are they looking at updating the code to address some of those kind of?
We talked about it. There is, when it comes to say agribusiness, agritourism, I believe we're going to incorporate some of that in the state with the new legislation that came about. Each jurisdictions can look at it and sort of take what they want. So they don't have to, if the state allows 45 different things that are considered, agritourism, you don't have to do all 40. You can sort of look at what fits best in your areas. So I believe I think we are adding a agribusiness, agritourism definition, but it's not going to be, it's still, I think, we did talk about potentially overlays of areas that are more commercial ag type of things that could potentially happen. That was a harder aspect since there was no areas that you could clump together. So it had to be a floating overlay. It literally could have been one business out in.
I was just curious. So it is something that's being discussed at least.
It was discussed, but it's one of those things, things are always fluid. And
I'm sorry?
Things are always fluid. So it's, as the state has more regulations and legislation that comes down the pike, we will, would like to look at it again at this point in time. It's nothing major for the agritourism, agribusiness portion. I think we're adding it potentially as a definition that acknowledging, yes, it's out there. And then things become more in depth and we'll maybe go further.
I was just kind of curious. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. No other questions? All right. I think that exhausts the planned agenda. Any staff comments? Items?
We are looking at moving the planning commission meeting date from the second Thursday to the third Thursday, I believe. I'll just be updating you on that. It'll put it between the two mayor and common council meetings essentially.
We're looking at doing that consistently.
Consistently, exactly.
Okay.
Moving the date from this time forward to that third Thursday
Third Thursday.
of the month.
Possibly as early as July.
Possibly, yes.
Okay. All right.
And outside of that, I have nothing else.
No, I don't know anything.
All right. Any members have any item to discuss, comment on? All right. Well, I see no further business. We have a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right. I'll second it. Second. We are adjourned.
All right, thank you.